Well, we're officially into July, which means it's time for my monthly games roundup, a new segment where I talk about games that I played, games that I wish I played, games that I'm looking forward to playing, and everything in between. So, if you want to know what I played last month to get some inspiration for what to play this month, then might I suggest... Hi, I'm Alex and welcome to Might I Suggest a Game, a channel devoted to helping you find your perfect board game. Today I'm going to be talking about my top tastings from the month of June, and I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit more casual. Really, I'm just going to kind of talk at the camera and see what happens. Anyways, I wanted to do these monthly games roundup so I could kind of get a sense of what I'm playing from month to month and see what kind of continuity happens between months. I decided to separate it into a few different categories, and the first category that I did was my top suggestion of the month. In my games roundup from last month, I asked people to make suggestions for what games I should play in the month of June. I got some really good suggestions in the comments of my video, but the one I'm shouting out today as the top suggestion of the month is this one from Nathan Passy suggesting the game Moonrakers. Now, I'd seen a few things about Moonrakers on Board Game Geek and on Instagram, but I didn't know a ton about the game, so I went and did a little bit of research, and it looks like a really awesome kind of like sci-fi deck building game with a ton of player interaction, which I usually enjoy. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to get it to the table in the month of June, but I did notice there's a scripted version on Tabletop Simulator, so I'm hoping to get a chance to try it in July. Thanks again, Nathan, for the suggestion. If you have any suggestions for games that you think I should play in July, drop them below in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to hit subscribe and that little bell button so you can get notified when I post new content. I appreciate your support, and I really love all your suggestions, so keep them coming. Anyways, now on to the good stuff. In June, I got a chance to play 19 unique games, some one time, some multiple times. I played The Initiative, Seven Wonders, Samurai Gardener, Cube, Q-less, Parks, Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, Tavarua, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Hughes and Q's, Medium, Clask, Hive, Micro Macro Crime City, Charterstone, Wingspan, Monopoly Duel, Silver and Gold, and the Pokemon trading card game, which I'm a big fan of. I wanted to start comparing some of the games that I played month to month, so I decided to make a few award categories, if you will, to highlight some of the games that are new to my collection, games that I want to play, and games that I really enjoy. So let's jump in! I'm going to start off by first talking about a few games that I actually didn't play last month. I'm hoping this will give me a chance to get a little bit of inspiration for what to play in the next month, and I hope it can give you some inspiration on what to play as well. So, the first category that we're talking about today is my top anticipated game in June. Now, there's a lot of new games coming out over the next few months, a lot of great Kickstarters happening, but the best one that I could think of for this month that I'm really looking forward to is Canvas. Now, I missed the original printing of Canvas when it first went on Kickstarter, but I was able to hop on the reprint campaign that just recently closed. Canvas is a really cool hand management set collection game with these really awesome transparent painting type cards that you layer on top of one another to score points and to complete various objectives. I usually really like set collection games, and I really like the theme of this one, plus the art is just absolutely amazing. So I'm really looking forward to getting this one to the table once my Kickstarter pledge comes in. Now, I don't know when that's going to be, it might be 2022, but either way, I'm still really excited about Canvas, and I'm hoping maybe I can borrow it from someone else to try to get a play in before I actually get my pledge. Personally, I'm a sucker for games with amazing art, so this one is right up my alley, and I did splurge a little bit and get the deluxe edition. So I'm really looking forward to those upgraded pieces and some of that really amazing art that comes in the base game. So if you're looking for a really beautiful game that plays just as well as it photographs on Instagram, then might I suggest Canvas. The next category is another game that I didn't actually play this month. It's my top missed opportunity of June. Now, this category is based on games that I own and that I really wanted to play, but I didn't get a chance to get to the table in the month of June. I'm hoping this will give me the motivation to really get these games to the table in the month of July. So my top missed opportunity from June is Zia, Legends of a Drift System. Now, I was lucky enough to make some really awesome connections with the folks at Far Off Games, and they were so kind and sent me this fresh copy of Zia, Legends of a Drift System, but I just wasn't able to get a good group of 3 people together that really wanted to play one of these big sandbox games. Unfortunately, I don't know a ton of people that want to play these big games with me, plus we haven't had a ton of time, especially with the newborn. Zia is a really awesome sci-fi based sandbox game, and I don't have a ton of experience playing sandbox games, so I can't really give you a sense of what to expect without having played it, but I do know that it's really highly rated on Board Game Geek, and I've heard from multiple people online that this is one of their favorite games. So I'm really excited to finally get it to the table and make sure that it's not on the missed opportunities list for next month. So if you're looking for a big, really cool looking sci-fi sandbox game that I'm sure I'm going to be doing a review on very soon, then might I suggest Zia, Legends of a Drift System. Alright, now we can talk about some games that I did play in June. The next category is the top new game in my collection. Now, I'm really crossing my fingers hoping my wife doesn't take a look at my credit card statement, because I did bring a number of games into the fold over the last month. I got a chance to play some of them, I didn't get to play others, and I'm really looking forward to taking the shrink wrap off of all of the new games that I got. But of the new games that I added and I did get to play, my favorite from June was Clask. Clask is a really cool dexterity game that's kind of like a combination of foosball and air hockey, but in a much more portable size. I actually got a chance to try Clask before I bought it by renting it from the Portland Game Store. Shout out Portland Game Store. As some of you may know, I live in the Pacific Northwest and it was super hot, like 115 degrees over the weekend.
That's hot. 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 This is hot. That's hot. That's hot. This is really hot.
So I got a chance to take my family and some friends out to the Oregon coast and bring some games with me at the same time. We played a few different things, but Clask was by far my favorite of them. I set it up on top of a cooler, we were in the sun, toes in the sand, with a nice drink on the side. It was just a great experience. I wouldn't say I'm a natural, but I'm not too bad. Anyways, Clask is a really cool dexterity game where you're moving around this little magnetic pawn around the pitch to try to accomplish a few different goals, like knocking the plastic ball in your opponent's goal, getting your opponent to fall into their goal, getting your opponent to attach 2 of the stray magnets to their pawn, or getting them to lose control of their pawn in a way that they won't be able to gain it back. There's a lot of different objectives and a lot of ways to get points, especially for an analog dexterity game. I really like the magnetic aspect of it, and it made every game really interesting. I mean, you could win a game of Clask without ever scoring a goal. It was super fun. We played it a bunch of times, and I know it's going to come with me for all kinds of different trips that we're taking over the summer. So if you're looking for a dexterity game that has that arcade feel of air hockey or foosball, but doesn't require you to put a bunch of quarters in first, then might I suggest Clask. The next category is one that I'm calling the top Table Hogger, and this goes to the game that I played the most in the month of June. That game happens to be one I've been talking about a lot over the last month. It's Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth on this one. I already did that. You can check out my video right here. Click up there for a link to my in-depth tasting notes on this awesome game. One thing I will say about this game, though, is that it's really easy to get to the table, which is one of the reasons why we played it so often. I introduced it to my parents, I introduced it to my sister and her husband, and obviously played it with Liz a bunch. I love Between Two Cities, and I just recently got Castles of Mad King Ludwig into my collection, which I also really enjoy, so this is really the best of both worlds. It's super easy to pick up, but it definitely has a little bit more strategy than Between Two Cities, which I really enjoyed, and it led to a lot of plays and a lot of really fun plays as well. So if you want a game that's got great replayability, judging by the fact that we played it a bunch in the month of June, plus I did a whole in-depth review on it, then might I suggest Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Now, the next category is one that I'm really excited about because it's one that I'm going to have to fill every month. It's a category called Top Game Off the Back of the Shelf. Now, if you're an avid board game collector like me, it's really easy to have games disappear on your game shelf. So this category is an opportunity for me to highlight one of these games so that I make sure that I get at least one of them on the table every month. So the game that I dusted off this month was Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Now, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective is actually one of my favorite games of all time. I really love the deduction, whodunit, mystery genre, in books, in movies, and especially in board games. But for some reason, I hadn't had the chance to get this one to the table for a long time. But in the month of June, we were able to dust it off, sit down with a glass of wine, and have a really nice night of solving a case alongside Sherlock. Now, I'm a sucker for all things Sherlock. I really consume as many Sherlock pieces of media that I can. But this game is really special. In Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, you play as Sherlock's minions, going around and trying to solve the case because, essentially, Sherlock's busy. I love getting a chance to immerse myself in Victorian England, walk around around the city of London, meet new people, go to new businesses, and get clues along the way. Now, there is a mechanic where you try to outwit Sherlock. At the end of every case, you find out that Sherlock wasn't actually busy, he was just solving the case faster than you. But my wife and I, we really don't pay attention to that objective, and we just try to solve the case as best we can. This game is perfect for anyone who's interested in escape rooms or ciphers and puzzles, and wants to get an experience like that in the comfort of their own home. I'm so glad we got a chance to play this game in June, and I'm really hoping we can continue to consistently play a case or two every month or so. So if you're looking for an immersive Sherlock Holmes experience that's definitely a big step up from Clue, then might I suggest Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Last but not least, I had to include my top overall game category. Like I said before, I played 19 unique games in the month of June, so this one was pretty hard to decide, but the one that came out on top is one that's just consistently one of my favorites of all time, and that's Wingspan from Stonemaier Games. Generally, I feel like one of the things that I judge a game on is whether or not you can jump back into a second game right after you played one. We did exactly that when we played Wingspan in June. And the best part about it was, both games were totally different. I've got the European expansion in addition to the base game, so the amount of birds that are in the game mean that you probably won't get the same birds after 1, 2, or maybe even 3 plays. Plus, every game you're going for different objectives, you have different powers, and it totally changes your strategy. I just love the idea that you could play Wingspan 10 times and have it play out completely different every time. Plus, for my birthday, my wife got me a few upgrades to the game. I got some new food bits and a beautiful scoring card from MeepleSource, which just makes me want to play the game even more. We've been playing it so much that the bird feeder is starting to fall apart, so I think I might need to invest in one of those laser cut ones. Anyways, Wingspan continues to be one of my favorite games of all time, and was definitely my favorite game that I played in June. So if you're looking for a beautiful card game with some amazing strategy that you can play over and over again and get a different experience every time, then might I suggest Wingspan. That's it for my top tastings from the month of June. I hope you like some of these games and you get inspired to play some of them in the month of July. Speaking of which, don't forget to comment below with your suggestions of games that I should play in July. Thanks so much for all the support so far. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep growing this channel and keep helping you find your perfect board game. Once again, this has been a Might I Suggest a Game production, and I'm Alex, your board game sommelier, signing off.